have this weird ability. I can smell if a guy is a virgin or not. Virgins smell like vanilla. Non-virgins smell like garbage. My boyfriend came to pick me up from work, and I suddenly noticed. His scent had changed from vanilla to pure trash. But we'd never even slept together. I opened the passenger door, and sure enough, there was some random woman sitting there. My boyfriend explained she's a coworker. Just giving her a ride. The woman smiled smugly. I get car sick. So sitting in front won't bother you, right? I looked at my boyfriend with a straight face. I told you a million times. Chicken belong in the trunk. My boyfriend frowned. I know you love me and you're jealous. But how can you insult a young lady like that? Smelling that intense garbage stench coming from him, my stomach started churning. The next second, I projectile vomited the spicy noodle soup I'd eaten for dinner. All over both of them. The woman screamed, "Are you insane? How disgusting can you get?" My boyfriend Jake covered his nose, his face turning purple with rage and disbelief. "What the heck did you eat tonight?" he asked through gritted teeth. Gagging, I wiped my mouth. Spicy noodle soup with extra fermented bamboo shoots. Jake's eyes turned red with anger, but he still grabbed tissues to clean off. The woman in the passenger seat. The garbage smell in the car was getting strong. Stronger and stronger. My gaze grew cold. This man was dirty now. Time to throw him away. I turned to leave. Jake shouted behind me, "Emma, you threw up on us, and you're just walking away without apologizing?" I turned back and added, "If you didn't stink so bad, would I have thrown up?" His eyes nearly popped out. "A few days ago, you were hugging me, saying my vanilla scent was so sweet and charming." Another wave of garbage smell hit me. I covered my nose and stepped. "Too bad you went from virgin to trash. Of course you don't smell good anymore." I didn't answer his question. Just said you should thank me for the meal. That noodle place has a 30-minute wait. You got lucky. I walked straight back into the office building. Behind me, I heard the woman's whiny crying and Jake's angry cursing. I signaled the security guard to get these two people out of here. When the guard went over, Jake got out of the driver's seat. He yelled at my back, "Emma, you freak. Your whole company only hires women. Even the security guards are women. You think one female guard can handle me?" Before he could finish, my female security guard executed a perfect shoulder throw, slamming him hard onto the ground. His face turned red with humiliation as he stood up, and his fist at the guard. The guard quickly lifted her leg and kicked him, flying 3 to 4 meters away. The woman in the passenger seat watched everything in shock. I walked back into the building feeling satisfied. So what if it's an all-female company? Because of my nose's special ability, I'd suffered from garbage smell attacks my whole life. To avoid torture, I started an all-female company after graduation. The entire building. No men allowed. Clean and fresh. Filled with women's scents. Laurel. Sweet fruity. Just breathing it made me happy. Everyone did their job excellently and worked hard, including the security guards and janitors. I looked down at Jake lying on the ground. Completely pathetic. Disgusting. How did I ever fall for something like that? I'm Emma, beautiful and rich. Finding a handsome, good-hearted virgin would be easy. That evening, Jake said. Secretary Sarah sent me a screenshot from social media. Sarah was straightforward and reliable. I really liked her and we'd always gotten along well. The screenshot showed the woman who'd been in Jake's passenger seat. She was holding a pink strawberry milkshake, smiling sweetly. The caption read, "Humble working girl. Got mistaken for having an affair with my boss again. Just because I'm pretty. Luckily, my boss is a good guy. Got me a new dress and treated me to desserts. So happy." Jake's profile had liked the post. Sarah didn't ask what happened. She just commented dryly, "Your man seems dirty. Now me. Don't associate me with him. We broke up." Sarah replied quickly, "It's actually true. What's wrong with Jake's? You're beautiful. And rich. How could he actually fall for this fake alert? Are you okay? Don't be sad over a guy like that." I laughed and replied, "Talking behind your boss's back like this? Aren't you worried about losing your job, Sarah? I'll just clean to you, rich lady. I've been wanting to quit anyway. Come on, let's go out. I'm taking you somewhere to relax and feel better." After she dragged me into a private room, I realized Sarah's idea of relaxation was a bar. Looking at the male models lined up in front of me, I fell into deep thought. Too stinky. Over a dozen different garbage smells mixed together. I told them to get lost immediately, but as they nervously backed toward door, I actually caught a whiff of vanilla among all that garbage smell. I looked up with interest. I raised my head and found the source of that vanilla scent, behind the row of tall male bottles. It was the last one. He stood at the very end of the line. Though tall, he kept his head slightly lowered, trying to hide behind the person in front of him. The bar owner saw my interest and immediately pulled him over to me, turning his face for me to see. The moment I saw his face, my breath caught. His skin was incredibly smooth. He looked 20 at most. D striking features. A high nose bridge and a pair of watery peach blossom eyes. Looking straight at me? I'm not exaggerating. This face was handsome enough for Korean boy band auditions. Most importantly, his whole body gave off a sweet vanilla scent. Coming to work as a male model. And he was actually a virgin. The bar owner added helpfully, "Miss, this is our bar's newest hire. Today's his first day." I stared at him for 2 seconds. He probably felt my gaze. His eyelashes trembled and his ears visibly turned red. He could even blush. Interesting. Keep this one. Everyone else out. After the door closed, we were quiet for 2 seconds. The handsome guy stood there, face bright red, fingers gripping his pants, eyes not knowing where to look. I got straight to the point. "If you need money, you can come with me. I'll pay you 100 times more than this bar." He looked up at me in surprise, his gaze lingering on my face for a moment. "How much can you give me?" $1 million a month. The next second he answered without hesitation. "I'm willing." I raised an eyebrow, somewhat surprised. His immediate agreement didn't match how he'd been. Blushing red just moments ago. Seemed like a pretty boy who really loved money. Perfect, since I had lots of money. I stared at him with interest, deliberately using a suggestive tone. "Then shouldn't you give your sugar mommy some proper service now?" His ears instantly turned bright red. After seeming to consider for a moment, he quickly pressed his lips gently against my cheek. "Please take care of me. Beautiful." My face went red. This kid was really smooth. Just then, the door was violently kicked open from outside. "Emma." Jake stood in the doorway, his suit all wrinkled. The female employee beside him shouted, "See, Mr. Wilson? I told you I saw your girlfriend. But you didn't believe me. You said she never comes to places like this." Jake's eyes fixed deadly on the less than a foot distance between me and the handsome guy. The veins in Jake's neck both as he rushed over to grab me. "You actually came here to find male models because you were jealous? I already told you, Jessica is just an employee at the company. How can you be this insanely jealous? How did you even find out I was here tonight? Did you deliberately find a male model to perform in front of me? I never knew you had this kind of attention-seeking personality. You make me sick." Jake's face was twisted in a mixture of anger and desperate denial. The stench radiating from him was unbearable, like a damp dumpster left out in the mid-July. Heat, rotting and sour. It cloyed at the back of my throat, making me want to gag all over again. "Emma." Jake took another step forward, his hand reaching out to grab my wrist. "Are you really doing this to get back at me? Look at this kid. He's barely out of high school. You're humiliating yourself just to make a point." Before his hand could touch my sleeve, a pale, slender hand shot out and clamped around Jake's wrist. It was the young man. Despite his blushing cheeks and shy demeanor from a moment ago, his grip was vice-like. His knuckles were white, and his expression had gone completely cold. "The lady asked you to stay back," the boy said. His voice was remarkably steady, lacking any of the nervous trembling he'd shown just minutes before. "Who the hell are you?" Jake sneered, trying to wrench his arm free. But the boy didn't budge. "Let go of me, you cheap gigolo. Do you have any idea who I am? I'm a senior partner at—" "I don't care," the boy interrupted softly. "But if you don't take your hand off her, I'll make sure you can't use it to write another report again." The sheer contrast between his sweet, vanilla scent and his icy, threatening tone was staggering. Even I was slightly stunned. Jake let go. The female employee who had escorted Jake in, her name tag read, "Mindy," shrieked, trying to pull Jake back. "She's crazy and her new toy is dangerous. Let's just go. You don't need to lower yourself to her level." Jake looked at me, his eyes bloodshot. "Emma, you're going to regret this. You think your little female-only company is invincible? I'm the one who managed your supply chain contacts. Without me, your new cosmetic line won't even make it to production next month. You'll beg me to come back. I'd rather run my company into the ground than breathe the same air as you," I said, covering my nose with a silk handkerchief. "And for your information, Jake, you were fired 10 minutes ago. Sarah has already sent the formal severance package to your email. Now get out. The smell of garbage is ruining my expensive wine." The bar owner, sensing the shift in the room, quickly signaled 2 burly security guards. They didn't hesitate. They grabbed Jake by his collar and dragged him out, with Mindy scurrying behind them like a frightened mouse, shouting about calling the police. Once the door slammed shut, the heavy, suffocating stench of trash finally began to dissipate, replaced once again by the crisp, sweet aroma of pure vanilla. I took a deep breath, feeling my pounding headache finally recede. "Are you all right, boss?" Sarah asked, leaning against the velvet sofa, a highly amused smirk on her face. "That was better than a drama series. And honestly, your new recruit is quite something." The boy's tough posture instantly melted away. He let go of the empty airware. Jake had been, his face flushing crimson again as he looked down at his shoes, nervously tugging at the hem of his oversized shirt. The fierce protector was gone, replaced once again by a shy, blushing lamb. I hope I didn't overstep, he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. You said you'd pay me, so I wanted to make sure I did a good job. I couldn't help but smile. What's your name? Ian, he whispered. Ian Vance. Well, Ian, I said, standing up and smoothing down my skirt. Pack your things. You're coming with me. The next morning, the sun shone brightly through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office. Sarah walked in, holding a tablet and a cup of black coffee. Good morning, Emma. I've drafted the contract for Ian. Under personal assistant with a monthly salary of $1 million, just like you promised. But are you sure about this? $1 million a month is, well, even for us, it's a lot to pay a college kid. It's worth every penny, I said, sipping my coffee. With him around, I don't have to worry about any other men getting close to me. He's like a walking, vanilla-scented air purifier. Besides, did you check his background? Sarah's expression turned serious. Yes. It's actually quite clean. He's a top finance student at the State University, currently on a temporary academic leave. His mother is in the hospital with a rare heart condition, which explains why he was desperate enough to work at a host bar. He has no criminal record, no shady connections. He's exactly what he looks like, a desperate, ridiculously good-looking college student. Perfect, I said. Where is he now? Waiting outside. I'll call him in. When Ian walked into the office, he was wearing a simple, well-fitted white shirt and black trousers that Sarah had purchased for him. The casual clothes did nothing to hide his striking features. If anything, he looked even more breathtaking in the daylight. And the scent, clear, warm, comforting vanilla, instantly filled the room. Miss Emma, Ian said, bowing slightly. He still looked a bit shy, but there was a quiet determination in his eyes. Sit. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Did you read the contract? Yes, he said, sitting down carefully. It's very generous. But what exactly do you need me to do? If it involves. He stammered, his ears turning bright red. I laughed. Don't worry, Ian. I'm not going to force you into anything you're not comfortable with. Your primary job is to be my personal shield. You accompany me to business meetings, social dinners, and banquets. If any man tries to get close to me, you stand in the way. If anyone asks, you are my boyfriend. Clear. Ian looked visibly relieved, a soft smile breaking across his face. Yes, Miss Emma. I can do that. Good. First task. We have a product launch banquet this Friday. Jake will likely be there with his new coworker Jessica, trying to pitch his services to our competitors. I want you to look your absolute best. Over the next few days, Jake didn't go quietly. Just as he had threatened, he tried to sabotage our supply chain. Several of our long-term raw material suppliers suddenly called to postpone their deliveries, citing unforeseen logistical issues. It's Jake, Sarah reported during our afternoon briefing, her face tight with anger. He's using his family's connections in the shipping industry to pressure our suppliers. He wants to force us to negotiate. If we don't get the ingredients for the new skincare line by next week, the launch will be delayed, and we'll lose millions in pre-orders. I leaned back in my chair unfazed. He thinks he's the only one with connections? Sarah, call the CEO of Vance Shipping Logistics. Tell them I want to book their entire fleet for the next 3 months. Sarah hesitated. Emma, Vance Shipping is the largest maritime conglomerate in the country. They don't usually deal with mid-sized beauty companies like ours. Their minimum contract size is usually in the tens of millions. Then we pay the premium, I said coldly. We need to show Jake that his little tricks are nothing but child's play. Just then, Ian entered the room, carrying a tray of tea. As he set the cup down in front of me, he looked at the document on my desk. His eyes lingered on the name Vance Shipping. Is something wrong, Ian? I asked, noticing his pause. No, he said quickly, his vanilla scent shifting slightly, turning a bit sharper, like burnt sugar, a sign of nervousness. Just, Vance Shipping is a very difficult company to negotiate with. The current chairman is very strict. Do you know them? I asked, raising an eyebrow. I've heard of them, Ian said softly, looking away. But if you need help with the shipping, I might have a way to make the introduction smoother. I chuckled, thinking he was just trying to be helpful. Thank you, Ian, but don't worry about business matters. Just focus on Friday night. The grand ballroom of the Grand Hyatt was packed with influential figures from the business and fashion industries. I arrived wearing a stunning emerald green gown that hugged my curves perfectly, but the real showstopper was the man on my arm. Ian wore a tailored dark navy tuxedo that made him look like royalty. His hair was styled back, revealing his sharp jawline and those mesmerizing, watery peach blossom eyes. Every woman in the room turned to look at him as we walked in. "Look at them," Sarah whispered beside me, clearly enjoying the attention. "Jake is going to pop a blood vessel." Sure enough, standing near the champagne tower was Jake, dressed in a tuxedo that looked slightly too tight for him. Beside him was Jessica, wearing a flashy pink dress and holding a glass of champagne, her face covered in thick makeup. The moment Jake saw us, his face turned ash gray, then a deep, furious purple. He marched right over to us, Jessica trailing behind him, her heels clicking loudly on the marble floor. "Emma," Jake sneered, his voice dripping with venom. The garbage smell radiating from him was so potent that I had to exert all my willpower not to cough. "I see. You actually brought your little pet to a professional event. Have you completely lost your mind? This isn't a host club. You're embarrassing your entire company." Jessica chimed in, her voice sweet and fake. "Miss Emma, I know you're upset about Jake breaking up with you, but bringing a gigolo to a high society event is just sad. If you needed a date, you could have just asked. Jake has plenty of single, successful colleagues who might have taken pity on you." Ian didn't say a word. He simply stepped forward, his tall frame completely blocking me from Jake's view. The sweet vanilla scent around him grew warmer, enveloping me in a protective barrier against Jake's foul odor. "Mr. Wilson," Ian said, his tone perfectly polite but utterly dismissive, "I suggest you watch your mouth. You are currently standing in a venue owned by the Vance Group. If you continue to harass my employer, I will have you removed." Jake burst out laughing. "The Vance Group? You think because you share a surname with the billionaire Vance family, you have some sort of authority here? You're a college dropout working at a bar. You're nothing but a gold-digging parasite. Is that so?" A deep, booming voice echoed from behind us. The crowd parted as an elderly man with silver hair and a sharp, authoritative posture walked over, flanked by several bodyguards in suits. Jake's eyes widened. "Chairman Vance, what a pleasure to see you here. I was just..." The old man ignored Jake entirely. He walked straight past him and stopped in front of Ian. The room went dead silent. Chairman Vance looked at Ian for a long moment, then let out a heavy sigh. "So, this is where you've been hiding, working as an assistant to a beauty company. Zio." Ian looked at his grandfather, his shoulders tensing slightly, but he didn't back down. "I told you, grandfather. I wanted to earn my own way to pay for mother's treatment. I didn't want to use the family trust fund that you control, with so many strings attached." "You foolish boy," the chairman rumbled, though there was a hint of pride in his eyes. "Do you think I would actually let your mother suffer? Her medical bills were settled weeks ago. I was only waiting for you to realize that you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders." The entire ballroom gasped. Jake looked like he had been struck by lightning. His jaw hung open, his glass of champagne slipping from his fingers and shattering on the floor. "See, Chairman Vance, he is my grandson, Ian Vance, the sole heir to the Vance Group," the chairman said coldly, turning his sharp gaze onto Jake. "And I believe I just heard you call him a parasite and a gigolo?" Jake's face drained of all color. He began to tremble, his hands shaking violently. No, Chairman, there's been a massive misunderstanding. I didn't. No, I swear I didn't know." Jessica's smug smile had completely vanished, replaced by sheer terror. She took a step back, trying to distance herself from Jake. Ian looked at his grandfather, then turned to me, his eyes softening. "Grandfather, this is Emma. She's the CEO of her own cosmetic company. And she is the most incredible woman I've ever met." Chairman Vance turned his gaze to me. I stood tall, offering a polite, respectful nod. The old man's expression softened slightly. "I've heard of your company, Miss Emma. Very impressive growth. It seems my grandson has good taste. I understand. You've been having some logistical issues with your suppliers." "Nothing we can't handle, Chairman," I replied smoothly. "Nonsense," the chairman smiled. "Vance Shipping will handle all of your logistics starting tomorrow, free of charge for the first year, as a token of my appreciation for looking after my stubborn grandson." I smiled. "Thank you, Chairman. That is incredibly generous. As for you," the chairman turned back to Jake, his voice turning ice cold. "Your family shipping company relies entirely on subcontracted routes from the Vance Group. As of tonight, those contracts are terminated. I suggest you find another line of work." "Chairman, please," Jake cried out, falling to his knees. "You can't do this. We'll go bankrupt." Security guards quickly stepped in, grabbing Jake and Jessica by their arms. This time, there was no dramatic resistance. They were dragged out of the ballroom like actual trash, leaving only the clean, elegant scent of vanilla. behind. The next evening, the patio of my penthouse apartment was quiet, overlooking the glittering city skyline. Ian stood beside me, holding 2 glasses of sparkling cider. The vanilla scent radiating from him was warmer and sweeter than ever. "So," I said, taking a glass from him, "an heir to a multi-billion-dollar shipping empire. You kept that part pretty quiet." Ian blushed, scratching the back of his neck. "I really did want to earn the money on my own. My grandfather and I had a falling out over how he runs the family, and I wanted to prove I didn't need his name. But when I saw how those people were treating you, I couldn't just stand by." "You did great," I said, clinking my glass against his. "But now that your grandfather has settled your mother's bills, and you're officially the heir again, I suppose you don't need your $1 million a month salary anymore." Ian's eyes widened in sudden panic. He stepped closer to me, the sweet vanilla scent wrapping around me like a warm blanket. "No. Please don't fire me, Emma," he said earnestly, his peach blossom eyes looking down at me with pure sincerity. "I don't care about the money. I want to stay. I want to be your assistant, or your boyfriend. For real this time. If you'll have me." I looked at him, searching his face. There was no deceit, no hidden trashy scent, no foul stench of unfaithfulness. Just pure, sweet, untainted vanilla. "Well," I smiled, taking a sip of my drink. "An all-female company still needs a reliable partner on the outside. And my nose is very picky. I think I'll keep you around." Ian's face lit up with a brilliant, breathtaking smile. He leaned down, and this time his kiss wasn't just a polite gesture on the cheek. It was gentle, sweet, and filled with promise. As the cool night breeze blew across the patio, the air was completely clean, fresh, and filled with the scent of sweet vanilla.